For every swing, every moment, the Milwaukee Brewers fight. It's not just about hitting the ball, it's about leaving a legacy.
What's up, Brew Crew Nation? We are coming off a season that was both historic and painful. We managed to set a new franchise record with 97 wins in the regular season, securing our third consecutive National League Central title. That is no small feat. It is proof of a winning culture established at American Family Field. However, the wound from the NLCS loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers is still fresh. We got so close, we touched the possibility of glory, but October baseball is ruthless. And it is exactly in this moment of reflection that the front office gears begin to turn. And the news I bring today demands our total attention and cold analysis. The biggest question hovering over Milwaukee right now involves our ace, the man who assumed the mantle of the rotation, Freddie Peralta. The logical expectation and the desire of any sensible fan is for the Brewers to keep Peralta for the 2026 season and beyond. After all, we just exercised his contract option worth $8 million right after the World Series ended. This ensures we have contractual control over an elite pitcher for a value far below today's inflated market. However, as someone who has followed the backstage moves and the philosophy of our front office for years, I need to be honest with you. The chances of a trade are never zero when it comes to the Brewers. Thomas Harrigan of MLB.com raised a point that we cannot ignore and that echoes my own analytical concerns. He correctly noted that this franchise has a history of making unpopular but strategically calculated decisions aimed at long-term sustainability. We saw Josh Hader traded when he was the best closer in the game. We saw our former Cy Young winner Corbin Burnes sent to Baltimore. We saw Devin Williams moved. On each of those occasions, the sky seemed to be falling for the fan base, but the team remained competitive, won the division, and stayed relevant. The philosophy of our GM, Matt Arnold, and the front office is clear: maximize the value of assets before they depreciate or become too expensive for our payroll. Harrigan writes, taking all that into account, not to mention the pitching depth the team has cultivated and the aptitude it has shown for developing starting pitchers, it wouldn't be surprising to see Milwaukee explore the trade market for ace Freddie Peralta this winter. This is cold market analysis. The Brewers operate as a pitching factory, trusting their ability to develop internal talent, the famous pitching lab triage, to replace established stars. The logic would be, if we can get a massive return package for Peralta now, when his value is at its peak and his contract is extremely affordable for any buyer, we could restock the minor league system and keep our competitive window open for another 5 or 6 years rather than just 1 or 2. It is a high-risk bet, but it is the modus operandi that brought us 97 wins this year, even after Burnes departed. Therefore, when we hear rumors about exploring the market, we shouldn't panic, but rather understand that for Milwaukee, no player is untouchable if the return justifies the move. We are talking about 4D chess, not just filling out a lineup card. Now let's look at the other side of the coin, focusing on the data and the reality of our current roster. I mentioned the market logic above, but baseball is played on the field, and the absence of Freddie Peralta would create a vacuum that, in my analytical view, would be much harder to fill than the previous departures. The crucial difference between the current scenario and the moment we traded Corbin Burnes is the elite depth at the top of the rotation. When we traded Burnes, we still had Peralta ready to assume the number 1 spot and the hope of Brandon Woodruff's return. Today, the situation is more complex. Freddie Peralta was a monster in 2025. Let's look at the numbers because they don't lie. He won 17 games, registered WIR, wins above replacement, of 5.5, and decimated opposing hitters with 204 strikeouts across 33 starts, covering 176 2-3 innings, a WAR of 5.5 places Peralta in the absolute elite of the league. We are talking about a player who, alone, is responsible for 5.5 more wins than an average player. Replacing that production through prospects or cheap free agency signings is a Herculean task bordering on impossible in the short term. Furthermore, the Brandon Woodruff situation is a determining factor in this equation. Unless we are absolutely certain that Woodruff will remain with the team and return to his ace form, or that the front office is willing to open the vault to sign a top-tier pitcher in free agency, something we have historically avoided, trading Peralta would be shooting ourselves in the foot for our 2026 aspirations. When Hader left, we had Devin Williams. When Williams left, we had Trevor McGill. The succession was clear. But if Peralta leaves, who is our undisputed ace? Who takes the ball in Game 1 of a playoff series against the Dodgers or Phillies? The $8 million contract for next season is, without a doubt, one of the biggest bargains in baseball today. This gives the Brewers incredible financial flexibility. If they decide to trade him, the return would have to be astronomical. I'm talking about multiple top 100 prospects who are MLB ready immediately. It cannot be a trade for long-term projects. However, my internal sourcing and market logic suggest caution. The team has depth. Yes, we have young talents like Carson Milbrandt talking about having his best year, and pitching development remains our trademark, but there is a limit to how much you can extract from young arms without a veteran anchor. Peralta offers stability, leadership, and elite performance. The analytical conclusion is that while the front office will, as always, pick up the phone and listen to offers, it is their fiduciary duty. The bar for a Peralta trade is much higher than it was for Burns. The team won 97 games and wants to get back to the World Series. Dismantling the rotation now without a clear and immediate contingency plan like re-signing Woodruff would send the wrong message to the locker room and to us, the fans. The smart strategy here seems to be keeping our ace, capitalizing on this advantageous contract, and perhaps, just perhaps, seeking a contract extension to keep him as the face of the franchise for years to come. To sum up, the Brewers are at a fascinating crossroads. We have an invaluable asset in Freddie Peralta, a cheap contract, elite performance, and 29 years of age. History tells us Matt Arnold isn't afraid of shocking trades if it secures the future, but the reality of our current roster suggests that losing Peralta without a comparable replacement like a healthy Woodruff could close our title window for 2026. Now, I want to hear from you, Brew Crew member. Do you trust the front office to pull off another magic trade, selling high on Peralta? Or do you believe we need to hold on to him at all costs to make another run of the title next year? Can the rotation survive without him? Leave your opinion in the comments below. I read and respond to everyone, because here your voice is part of the game. Don't forget, for quick, deep analysis that is always on the fans' side, subscribe to the channel and share this video with your fellow Brewers friends. We'll be watching. Until next time,